are now listening to Thinking Out Loud with your hosts, Jay-Lip and J.Rhodes.
Thinking Out Loud, we back at it. It's your boy Jay-Lip with my co-host, the incredible J.Rhodes. J.Rhodes, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
All right. And tonight we are blessed to have another one of our brethren with us tonight. It's the Honorable Mr. Levi. Levi, what's good, baby?
What's good? Thanks for having me.
The Honorable.
The Honorable. hey, that's family right there. The Honorable Levi. We just want to thank everybody for continuing to support us in what we do, having an open dialogue, sharing our message with the world. Without further ado, I wanted to dive in to a topic that's been discussed lately, especially with what's going on in current society, with a lot of changeover that we're seeing as far as President Donald Trump coming through, making a lot of executive orders, making a lot of changes. And a lot of what I'm hearing from people, at least from the blogs and from the news pundits, is a lot of favorable moves that Trump is making are for folks financially. So the big question that I have is, to whom benefits from the current financial climate that we're in? And from that sentiment, I'm kind of thinking, if it's not me, if it's not the people that I know, my family, my brethren, my people, what impact and where are we at with our current financial climate? So one of the things that came to mind was thinking about, kind of working in this current. Well, I'll open the floor with that. How do y'all feel as far as Trump being a businessman, being a wealthy businessman, a successful multimillionaire, maybe even billionaire? How do y'all feel with him being a leader of the free world will impact us as a community, us black people, in our current financial situation?
So I feel like it has positive and negative effects on us. In terms of that, it's going to be positive for people in terms of more people are moving their money from like bonds, which are safe investments. If you're afraid you're going to lose money, basically you stash your money there.
Okay.
A lot of people are moving their money from bonds to stocks. Mm-hmm. Stocks are slightly more risky. The good news is you can make more money on it. However, in regards to if you're an investor and you have some assets there and you're putting it into the market, you should be getting a return on your investment, which is good. Bad news is there's a lot of people with us being right around 30 looking to buy homes, things like that for the first time, or you're in a home, maybe looking to refinance, things like that, that causes things like the mortgage industry. There's been an uptick in terms of interest rates, or the same rates that you may have gotten last year is not going to be available in the current market, meaning that if you're looking to buy a home, you can't afford as much house as you could have last year. Mm-hmm. Or if you're refinancing, it may not save you as much money or do what you needed to do.
But it sounds like what you're saying is basically, mm-hmm. if it's positive and negative, it sounds like it's positive for the people that already got money and it's negative for the people that don't.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
With that being said, alley-oop this up to you, Rose. Do you agree with that statement? Do you agree that right now we are seeing a greater disparity under a Trump presidency, that the wealthy will get wealthier and the poor will get poorer?
It's a complicated scenario, because on one hand, Donald Trump is promoting domestic business. He's been in negotiations with our auto industry makers and other domestic businesses to try to keep them in the country and not outsource into these cheaper labor markets and countries. So that's a good thing. That creates more jobs. It's good for the GDP. It's good for all those things. The downside of it is, with his stance on healthcare, because he's trying to make it an open market where insurance companies will compete for it, people are paying more for some of the things that we've are paying more for the things that we've had to traditionally pay less for. So it's a double-edged sword. So there's more jobs, but there's more expenses kind of associated with it. So
with it being more jobs, but the cost is higher, does it even out? Does it make a difference? Because I guess the greater question is America better off for it financially? Because what I'm hearing from both of y'all is there's a positive and a negative, a positive and a negative. Is it a zero net gain? Is it no change from where we were under President Obama?
I think it looks better on paper what Trump's proposing. Like, for example, Trump is proposing like deporting all the illegal immigrants and the people who don't have U.S. citizenship. So basically, all those local restaurants who were employing unauthorized foreigners in the kitchen and doing cleanup jobs because they didn't want to pay taxes on those people, you get rid of them. So that means that you got to pay somebody to do that job. So it's a good thing, right? So that way a hard-working, honest American is getting that job. But at the same time, it looks good on paper, but you're not really affecting change. You're actually hurting more people.
How so?
Well,
How is that going to hurt us as just all-inclusive American citizens?
You hurt the business owner in terms of now he's going to have increased costs because the most expensive part of running a business is going to be wages and benefits that you pay to workers.
Okay.
So that accounts for about 60 to 70% of your expenses as a business owner. So naturally, by going from a legal immigrant potentially to a U.S. citizen and paying them market wage, that might mean that maybe you can't hire as many people. That also may mean you may not be able to provide as good a service, or you have to raise prices. One of the three are going to happen as a result of that.
And also, too, businesses play these numbers games. Like, for example, under the current legislation, you're only technically full-time if you average 30-plus hours on the year. So if you have somebody who's busting their ass, like a waiter or a dishwasher, and they're averaging over 30 hours, you can simply get under that number by laying them off for a month or two. You know what I'm saying? So It's a numbers game. You're not really helping anything. You're just playing a numbers game. Like, oh, yeah, this guy was busting his ass working 40, 50 hours, but I laid him off for 2 months, so now he's averaging 29.5, so I don't have to pay him insurance or benefits.
It's interesting that you mention that because a lot of Trump supporters, when you bring up the fact that looking at Trump not really trying to be too robust about sharing his tax history, we all know that he's benefited from a lot of tax loopholes. And so that's a self-proclaimed statement that he's made. And he's even said, why wouldn't I take advantage of a loophole or opportunity? So with that being said, aren't those same business owners taking advantage of loopholes? If they're, you say it's a numbers game, so it's a numbers game on paper, but aren't they just taking advantage of the loopholes that exist for them to stay afloat and to maintain being financially profitable?
Yes. The way it works is once you get a hold of some money, it's going to be easier for you to make that money work for you. I think if you know what you're doing business-wise and make the right business decisions. The way things are structured is just basically going to, I think, short term here, Trump, I believe this will be good for the economy, short term. Meaning that because there's talks on he's going to loosen some of the regulations, make it easier for people to get home, so on and so forth, which normally leads to economic prosperity. The downfall is some of the rules and things like that are put in place now to safeguard against people making stupid decisions. This kind of stops you from that. If you take those away, then by default, people can be taken advantage of if they're not educated on certain things. And ultimately, that's kind of what led to 2008. That can happen again if you don't have any safeguards in place to stop it.
It sounds like short term, there could be some benefits, but there's definitely lasting impact that could negatively affect us as a country. Now, let's get a little bit more microscopic and say, okay, we talked about business owners. We talked about going in and looking at folks that are trying to buy a home. What if you're not in position to do either of those two things? What is the impact to the working man who's working just a 9 to 5, a renter, trying to just take care of his family, feed kids, and trying to incrementally grow and make a life and a legacy for their family? What is the impact, and where are we at as a culture, and where do we need to be? Because a lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of promotion lately as far as people saying, don't work for the man, start your own business, the man always got his foot on your neck, and all of these statements that discourage people from feeling like, an honest day's work, even if it is in the favor of a corporation, is something to be ashamed of. It's something that you should not be proud of. And I personally, as a person who works in a corporate environment, I have no qualms about cashing that check every 2 weeks. And when I do that, I do it with pride because I know that I put in the work to earn what I earn.
I think, and shout out to Dame Dash, I think it's a difference in mentality. Yeah, I'm calling out Dame Dash, right? So I don't want to be quite as black and white as far as you're a boss or you're like calling somebody daddy. You'd be working someone.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think it's a difference in mentality. It's like, for example, so Lip, you said that you take pleasure in cashing that check every 2 weeks, but basically, are you saying that that check represents what your value is? Is that check representative of your everything you contribute to that company?
No,
Me
I can
personally,
answer. I can answer that directly. I feel like your worth to a company is what they're willing to pay you. That's your worth. There's no negotiating that, because if there was, it would be on you to negotiate and then them to consider it and come back with either I agree or I disagree and keep it moving.
but we all know that you have to work to live. Do you feel that that check represents your worth?
No, I don't feel like it represents my worth as a person, but I feel like it's important to make a distinction and say, I put myself into a career where
Mhm.
the goal is for me to go to work and accomplish a task. So my task is to do X, Y, and Z. If I do that, the contractual agreement is if I do X, Y, and Z to an acceptable level of performance, I'll be compensated accordingly. I do
Right,
not see a problem with that.
right.
I don't have a problem with that because I know that that's the agreement.
If you look a little deeper, if you look at what your contributions mean financially to that company, and then you start thinking about it, well, does this wage that I signed up and agreed to, does it represent my actual contribution? And a lot of people feel no. A lot of people feel the answer is no. So that's why there's a need to, I can go into business for myself. Instead of me working and making $30 an hour for this company, I could do it myself, and I could reap maybe 70%, 60% of the profits once I pay my expenses. So I think it's a difference in mentality. Obviously, there's less security, there's more risk, there's a financial risk to it, obviously. But I think that's the mentality a lot of people have, that I'm worth more than this. I can change things. I have more freedom, more say so. So I think that's the difference in mentality.
A lot of people don't go into business. Like, for example, me, myself, personally, I've went into business for myself and all because of the risk factor. When you go into business for yourself, a lot of people push that and they say everybody should, but not everybody's passionate to be able to run a business. So if if that's not where your passion is, then how are you you're not going to succeed in that, because a lot of people say I work too hard for a company, but when you work for yourself, you're going to work harder than you ever have for a company.
But also think in part that's an indirect agreement with also the fact that it's in your self-interest to work hard for a company, a part of a corporation. You're a cog in the wheel, but you are going to work hard because there's an incentive there. Me personally, I rely on the benefits of having that security. At this point in my life, I don't have a craft that I'm passionate enough about to pursue, to throw everything away and to say, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this because I have enough passion, drive, and quite honestly, capital to put up to start and to expect to survive on. And there's something to be said about transitioning from corporate to self business. I'm in a position where I'm working to make that happen with my wife. She is a self starter, a self motivator. She's done her thing as far as
And
her
she's an
small business.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, she's a natural born entrepreneur, and so if I can, I don't mind busting my ass to get that quote unquote, the man check, the shameful currency that I get every 2 weeks. There's no problem with me doing that because I know that in this household, at least, we're kind of split where we agree on both sides of the game. It's just about wherever your interest and where your level of passion is. So
Bring it home with black people. They bring it to like all people should do one thing or all of us should do something else. That's not necessarily the case. It's different strokes, different folks. So
that's a good
so it
point.
just depends on what's best for you. If you can afford, if it's a minimum, if you have an idea that you can go
Monetize.
ahead and implement, right, and monetize on, take advantage of it, and that's your situation, you're passionate about it, then and willing to take the lumps and to grow and learn that sort of thing, then great, that's good for you. But don't criticize the man that's going to work 40, 50, 60 hours, however many hours, so that he can get that paycheck, just because he doesn't have that idea because somebody else created that idea and provided him with the opportunity to get a set wage.
You know,
You know what though? I'm gonna disagree a little bit because the difference is, especially to my black people, right? So a lot of us, I'm 30 years old, so a lot of us are either first, second, third generation college students. You know, my grandparents, my grandfather didn't even have a eighth grade education. So you think about who we're competing against, and we're competing against other people who have generations of wealth.
oh yeah, the Head Start theory.
Exactly, prestigious
Yeah.
alumnus, everything. So realize that your counterpart of a different race, of a different background, may work 50, 60 hours a week for their own company because it was passed down to them, or they were in a situation where, you know what, Joel family owns jewelry.
Shout out to Joel.
So and so's family has a clothing line, you know. So they're raised differently. Their mentality is different. They're not raised to work for someone else unless they choose to. With us though, I think we have to say, you know what, yeah, you know what, maybe you're not meant to be a boss, or I got an idea, I want to do this, but we need to start networking. We need to start pulling our resources and creating businesses together. That's my point. They know how to work together and how to like make money together. I think a lot of times as an African American community, black community, we're so individualized that we think I got to get mine, as opposed to like, you know what, Levi is smart with this, Janon's great at that, I'm do this, let's put it together and make a business together, as opposed to like, well, he got his own thing, he going, I got my thing going. So we're like kind of like we're competing against each other and we're not maximizing our talents.
Bringing things together, I think there's something to be said with more unity in that regard. However, I do disagree in regards to the fact that like a lot of people of white community in particular happen to be more entrepreneurial. In some different minority races like Jewish or some of the Middle Easterns, that may be true, but percentage wise, I think with white people, it tends to be about roughly the same. If not, I would dare to say it may be more black entrepreneurs. The difference lies though is when Becky goes to go to her job for 40, 50 hours a week. When she goes to her job for 40, 50 hours, however many hours a week, and then suppose she gets laid off and whatever happens, she can go to grandma or grandpa, and grandma and grandpa got $200,000, so they can toss her a little bit of money to hold her over until the next opportunity comes. Versus, for example, I'm a first generation college student as well, so
College graduate
as well, so I don't have that same luxury. A lot of times we're making more money than our parents ever made in their lifetime, but if we mess it up, we're here trying to support our families as opposed to them, supporting us if we mess up.
You know what?
So
I gotta agree with that too. I gotta say that basically we gotta at least get ourselves a couple generations in to where we are providing the safety net for our seed and our legacy before we can immediately just say, you know what, we all have a couple scraps, let's pull together the scraps and try to make a mountain out of the dirt that we have, versus surviving. I think that for a long time, and to your point, Rose, there has been an indoctrination where we are, by and large, just happy to have a job. I mean, we celebrate that. Like I got a job. We thank God. We're blessed to have positions where we are getting paid to do work and are able to live life off of that. I think the difference in the philosophy, though, is at a certain point, to me, we had to step back and say, okay, you mentioned all the other groups that have built together, which is just the natural segue into my final point this evening, which is the other groups that you see work together and build together, which you mentioned, Rose, and which you mentioned, Levi, is the constant between all of those groups that goes against what I feel like is common in the black community is the unity, and also is the dollar of that culture. And so there's a lot of references out there to the quote unquote black dollar, the money that you make as an individual who goes to work, or the money that you make as an entrepreneurial person being black. Where is that money going, and how long does it stay in the community to grow and strengthen the community? And I think that speaks volumes in alignment with what y'all both said as far as, unifying and growing. One of the things that you can't, it's an undeniable fact, if you drive in any area that I'm familiar with, at least in the Metro Detroit area, there are a lot of Chaldean owned gas stations, specifically north, west side, Southfield area. And growing
East
up,
side too.
growing up and growing up with a lot of Chaldean people in school, I understood learning from them that it was a familial thing. Is there a responsibility for us to be spending and sharing money within the black community for its own benefit, or is it our responsibility to survive by any means necessary? Whether that means I need to go to Walmart to get my groceries because it's cheaper there, even though I can get it from a black owned supermarket that may charge a 20% increase for them to make their overhead payments.
Absolutely, it's a responsibility because socialization, the way we've been cultured, and also just our roots. Black people, we are descended from royalty. Not saying that everybody was a king, but obviously we are descended from a royalty-based culture, history. However, let's take a look, because you guys said that, we need to provide a safety net. You said that, Lip. But look at this example. You go to that gas station where that Chaldean or whatever that Middle Eastern person is running that gas station, right? Mm-hmm. He's bringing his son, his nephew over. Now, granted, that nephew, I don't know about you, but them people work a long time. They work maybe like 12, 15 hours at a gas station.
Oh, yeah.
And some raggedy ass clothes.
Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say they work hard. I ain't gonna clown their clothes, but go ahead.
Well, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, they dress modestly. You know, like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? They dress appropriate for the job.
They was gonna say some raggedy ass clothes.
Right. I mean, for real, like, look, think about it. They say they stand 12 hours behind a bulletproof glass all day, right?
Right.
There ain't nothing fancy about it. You think about us and how we want to get on. We want to be the boss. We want to be established. A lot of us don't even have the patience or the vision to stand behind that glass 15 hours, 6-7 days a week for our uncle or our father. But they do. And you say, well, that's whack, because I want to be fresh. I want to be in a suit. I want to wear my J's, whatever you're into. But they make that sacrifice because they see the bigger picture. They see that they're creating wealth for generations. So that way, when they uncle retire, it's their gas station. And they're going to pass it on to their family. They're going to create a new one. A lot of times as black people, let's be honest, we want to be on right now. We need to get to the point where, you know what, I could sacrifice, I could be humble. And that way, because I understand what I'm building, I understand what I'm doing.
Wherever I'm buying my groceries, I'm going to whoever has the cheapest goods. How do you expect someone who may be just trying to survive to go the extra mile to say, you know what, I'm going to spend the extra and get less so that I can help out the culture, but at the detriment to potentially feeding or clothing my family? And I guess this is really so opportunity for you, Levi, knowing that you do have a family. What do you feel you have a responsibility to spend, as they say, spend black?
No, I don't feel an obligation to do it, but I feel it's the right thing to do. Meaning that my first job as a father and a husband, that sort of thing, is to make sure they're taken care of. So if it's between that and being able to provide food and put the light and keep the lights on, and I don't have that extra money to do it, then I gotta do what I gotta do. Once you have that money though, if everything's equal, I'm going to keep it in house. I'm going to go with the black man every time, or keep it in the community every single time. The other part is the service still has to be comparable. And that doesn't mean the same in terms of, like, if I walk in and I see Billy at Walmart and he
Shout
says,
out to Billy.
Right, he says, how you doing today? And I walk in J.Rhodes' place and he says, what's up, man? What's good? That's cool. But if I need help with something, it should be the same. Like, okay, what you need? How can I help you? That sort of thing.
You expect the same service. You don't want to.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it should be.
That could be an authentic
take
experience.
care of our own.
Say it again. Say it again, Rose.
I said, if I speak to you in a more ebonic way, that could be an authentic experience. You don't go to a barbershop to hear, how you doing, sir? What do you want done today?
No. I think he was saying that in layman's terms, though. He doesn't want to just be greeted and then that's it. I think I see what Levi's saying is he wants the same level of service. You don't want to feel like just because you're black and I'm black that it's almost like you it's dismissive. Like, you know why you here. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to when
Right.
you go to another place where they welcome every dollar, white, black, and every dollar is green to them. So I that's where I see where that's where I'm hearing at least from you, Levi. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, in terms of the same level of service, but I don't mean that it has to be worded the same way. You can speak to me, like, what's good? That's what I would expect if I'm coming into my own neighborhood. I feel more welcome that way versus if Billy said what's good, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck you talking to?
Damn,
So,
Billy be getting it, boy.
Hey, your
so
son
but,
named Billy, man.
but at the but what I mean, yeah, what I don't want though is I don't want the stereotypical, some of the negative stereotypical black experience, meaning that like you didn't greet somebody when they walked in. If you're a waitress or waiter, you didn't come around or say I'll be with you in a moment. I got you, something like that.
No, you're right. And
You,
bad service is
yeah,
bad service is bad service. I
bad
think
service, bad
Right.
service.
we can
So,
Right.
we can agree on that. And I think that
mm,
I think that I'm a pull it here because I think that we had a pinnacle where this discussion can literally continue on, and I want to make sure that we. No, go ahead. You want to get the last word? Go ahead.
in terms of the black community, though, I think there's a lack of unity, and I think that started going all the way back to slavery. Because you see a lot of other like immigrants, Middle Eastern, or other Europeans, Italians, any other groups of people. They come in and they get money. Jewish, they come in, they get money. Their group prospers and they keep it in the community. And the money, there's been a study shows money on average exchange stays in the community about 13 times before it's put outside of the community.
When you say
Right.
the community,
There's been a
you mean other ethnic communities. It stays like that.
Right.
Right.
So,
Right.
like for example, a Jewish man, he's going to go buy Jewish clothes, and then they're going to go to a Jewish food shop, and somewhere it stays in the community 13 times before it gets out.
Right.
Right, but
With
the key difference is, not to cut you off, brother, but
Mhm.
the Jewish community or any other ethnic community, they own their shops in their community, and they'll put a shop in our community.
Right, but
That's the difference. See, we might have a hair salon or a nail shop here and there, whether it's our community or their community, but they'll be like, you go to Greektown or you go to Chaldean neighborhood in Detroit, it's all Chaldean stuff. In Chicago,
why?
it's all Greece or whatever it is. It's all there, and they'll have a shop here in the black community. And the black community,
Agreed. But why? But have you ever? Why is that? That's what I was into.
right, and the reason why that is because we don't see the value in owning our property, supporting our own businesses, and also staying within our neighborhoods. So it's a three part process, because you look at it, that same Arab who's cooking that Coney Island or that Jim Shoe, whatever you're eating on the fast food corner, he's working 12, 15 hours a day in the black community. But when he goes home at night, he's going to his community.
That's right.
Right. Black
That's
people,
true.
though,
That's true.
we don't want to stay in our community, and we don't want to put businesses in our community. So we need to, first of all, buy black, own our real estate, create a business here that's respectable, that helps the community. Don't just create no weed dispensary. Everybody need weed. Everybody need fast food, but make something that's beneficial to us. And you know what? Put that soul food restaurant, put that weed shop in that community. Now you say, well, they don't wear weave. Then you put a motherfucking nail shop or something. Put something. Excuse my language. But you gotta put something.
No, you say what it is. You say what it is. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you get your last piece out, Levi. This is the last one.
That's it.
Okay. So with that being said, I agree with you. However, I think where that started from was slavery. We were the only group that I'm aware of here that was divided since then. Think about it.
You know what?
You got the light-skinned slaves over here. You got the dark-skinned house. You got the field niggas and the house niggas.
Levi, I'm a pull it right there, because that is a whole nother topic, because I got some information that, bro, it wasn't just us. But like I said, I'm gonna save that ammo for the next episode. We need to continue this dialogue. Levi, Rhodes, this is what we need. This is thinking out loud. This is what we need. Thank y'all both for jumping in on this discussion tonight. Like I said, tonight we went in on the whole from economic American impact all the way down to the community, and I think that this discussion is just so important. But I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm almost call this a part one because part two we're gonna go into the reasons, and what's more important is to the reasons is what's the resolution, reasons and resolutions. That's gonna be the next episode. If we can get Levi back on, we know my man is busy, but we need to continue this discussion. So Levi, I want to thank you, brother, for joining us tonight, bro.
I appreciate you having me.
And Rose, you already know what it is. Couldn't do it without you. Appreciate you, bro.
Oh yeah, it was love. Thanks for coming by, Levi.
I appreciate you.
Everybody, once again, support, subscribe, do something, anything, and just listening. For that, we appreciate you. This is Thinking Out Loud. We out.
This episode of Thinking Out Loud was executive produced by Jay-Lip. Music provided by Daisy Smith. Artwork and logo provided by Rob D. And sponsored by you, the people. We thank you for listening.